Yeah, bear with me. I gotta find the right spot for this microphone. Hey guys, it's Jen here, Journeyman welder turned metal sculptor. I'm here to tell you today that I have finally launched a YouTube channel. This is something that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and so I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys are too. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff on here. I'm going to be going into a little more depth on these builds. I'm going to share the entire process, start to finish with you guys, all the way up to the delivery of these pieces. We're going to be meeting lots of cool people, doing a lot of cool stuff, and I'm just super excited to take you guys along on that journey. So first things first, hi, my name's Jen. I am a journeyman welder by trade turned metal sculptor. I got into sculpture about 4 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. Now, a lot of people ask me, how did you get into welding? How did you get into metal sculpture? So I started welding at a ripe 15 years old. I was in grade 10. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school. I wasn't huge on school. I wasn't big on the idea of university. Honestly, I just wanted to make some money. So I was already familiar with the trades. My stepdad worked oil field construction my whole life. My older brother was into pipe fitting. So I kind of already knew how the trades worked, and I just really liked the idea of going to school for a short amount of time, all the while making money and not being so committed and having to pay a large amount of money for something that I might not want to do. So I got a job at a fabrication shop in town. I grew up in a small town in Alberta. I got this job and I started out as like a laborer. In Alberta, there's a program called the Registered Apprentice Program. And basically, you get hired on as an apprentice and you can start gaining your hours toward trade school. So I would go to school, I would go to high school half the day, and then I would go to the shop and work the other half. And I started gaining all these hours toward my apprenticeship. So when I graduated, grade 12, I went straight to welding school, got my first year, and by 21, I got my journeyman welding ticket. Throughout my apprenticeship, I did a lot of different jobs. I got a good mix of shop and then field work. For the majority of it, I did work in a fabrication shop. And then towards the later half, I worked jobs in the field. So I did a little bit of pipelining. I was just a helper on the pipeline. I didn't have my B pressure ticket yet. And then I worked as a structural welder on various pipeline stations, compressor stations. Now, fast forward to 2019, I got pregnant with my daughter, Ellie. And this was like a very weird crossroads in my life because I was still young. I was not ready to give up my welding career. I still needed to make money. But at the same time, I wanted to be a good mom. I wanted to be home with my new baby. It was just kind of like a weird crossroads, like I said. So I looked around for some jobs, but none of them were in town for the most part or accommodating for a new mom. But regardless of that, when Ellie turned 3 months old, I went and got my B pressure ticket. So if you don't know what a B pressure ticket is, I don't know if that's Canada-wide or just Alberta, but basically just a certification that allows you to weld on pipe. So I just figured if I got my B ticket, it would just open up more opportunities for jobs and that sort of thing. Now, out of all the crazy things and badass sculptures I've built throughout my career, I gotta say getting my B pressure ticket, getting B certified was like the proudest moment of my entire career. That was, if you're a welder and you've gone for your B pressure, you know how intimidating and stressful and hard that test is. So that was a very proud moment for me, for sure. So here I was, journeyman certified, B pressure ticket, and still I couldn't really find a job that fit. The economy was pretty slow at this time. And obviously if you know the welding trade, there's not a lot of jobs that are accommodating for a new mom. So I kind of took things into my own hands, and I thought, you know what? I'm not just going to sit around here. I'm going to figure this out. So I started welding things in my garage at home, my single car garage. I started welding everything from like table bases. I did some benches, just some different structural things that I could fabricate in my garage at home, and started selling them. I started like a little Etsy shop, and I started messing around with like utensil art. So basically, I started making things out of forks and spoons and trying to sell them online. So I started getting more requests to build these little cutlery birds. And then the requests just got bigger. I got commissioned to do a cattail sculpture with a dragonfly on it. So I built that. People loved that. And honestly, I just never said no to anything, even though I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to build these things or sculpt metal. I knew how to weld, and I just took on every job and just did my best to figure it out. I'm very thankful because a lot of this did come very natural to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I worked my ass off and I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I was able to correct them like throughout the process. So one of the bigger commissions I took on at the beginning that kind of kickstarted everything was a mallard duck that I was asked to do. And I did make this out of cutlery. It was made out of spoons and knives for the wings, but I did sculpt like the mallard duck's face. And that was the first kind of attempt at like sculpting anything. And I did that. It turned out pretty cool. And that's when I really realized, like, light bulb went off, like, all right, this might be your thing. So the mallard duck gave me some good exposure online. Ducks Unlimited shared it, which then Jim Shockey seen it. He shared it. And I got to say, Jim Shockey was kind of like my day one celebrity who shared my work and got me more followers in the beginning. So I do have to thank you, Jim, for that. So I contacted the Wild Sheep Foundation. I somehow got accepted into the auction, and I proposed that I was going to build this shoulder mount metal doll sheep. Now, at this point, I didn't really have too much art to back me, but these people trusted me, and I kind of just jumped in with 2 feet. There's not too much, unfortunately, like most things you can Google and find things to help you out that people have previously done, but nobody, let me tell you, that I could find has ever tried to weld a doll sheep sculpture. So I really did have to figure this one out on my own. Now, this job was like a breaking point in my career. It was kind of like when the light bulb really went off and I realized, like, okay, I might have like a little bit of talent here, I mean, to me, when I'm in the shop, I'm just welding. I'm just welding and grinding, but I do realize there might be some natural talent backing me. Thankfully, I'm very lucky. But yeah, so I just jumped right in. I built this metal doll sheep, and I'd be lying if I said along the way there wasn't doubts, because there's moments, and I want to say in almost every build that I do, even now, where like halfway through it's just not looking quite right, and I do doubt myself, and I'm like, am I gonna figure this out? Like, shit. But thankfully, most always I do figure it out so far. So yeah, I did the metal sheep sculpture for the sheep show. If you're not familiar with the sheep show, the Wild Sheep Foundation puts this event on every year for conservation and wild sheep. But I did that, went down to Reno, auctioned this thing off. To be completely honest, it did not go for as high of a bid as I thought it would. I'm being completely honest. But now I do realize that a large part of that was just nobody knew who I was. I think I had I want to say 1,000 followers going into the auction the first year. I didn't promote this thing at all. Yeah, so that's my bad. You can't expect for people to buy your art for these large amounts of money at the beginning, because let's just be honest, you don't have a name for yourself, and you're not really worth anything yet. You're still proving yourself. So that was like my prove it year, Now, even though I didn't quite get what I wanted out of it, I did in means of exposure. So I know there's a lot of people still following me today from Wild Sheep Foundation. So I am like very thankful for that organization. It was kind of my start in this whole art scene and really did get my name out there. So after the sheep show, things started really getting traction. I started gaining more and more followers, and the jobs just started coming in. Now, if we fast forward to January this year, I did a second sheep show down in Reno, and I auctioned off a metal sculpture of a ram skull on like a Trapper Nelson packboard.
Now we're going to get 42 and a half. All in and done. I sold it right there, 40,000.
This thing really did accelerate my name, I think. It turned out really cool, and it did very well in the auction. And kind of just backed me and gave me a lot more confidence about my art. Because let's face it, I mean, your art is only worth as much as people are going to pay for it, So, and that's tough to say, but it's true. Like, you can see all the value in your art, but if nobody else does, then is it that valuable, Okay, we're getting down a bit of a rabbit hole here, which is probably a lot of what you're gonna see on this channel because it's me. Okay, where were we? So my career, yada, yada. Yeah, I mean, basically that's the gist of it. I started out in oil field construction, got pregnant, discovered metal sculpture, and turned out to be half-assed decent at it. And now we're here. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Again, thank you for being here on this journey with me, and I hope you guys follow along. Hit that like button, subscribe. Where's the button? Here? I don't know. But thank you, I love you, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, cut. I'm gonna tell you a little story today about my life. That's what people do now. It's called ASMR. I'm gonna give you a little welding ASMR pretty soon. That sounds so dirty.